Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
The Supreme Court has ruled that charging people to bring cases before employment tribunals is unlawful. The government introduced fees of up to £1,200 4 years ago, but now it must pay back £32 million to claimants. The trade union Unison had argued that the charges stopped workers from getting access to justice. Our legal affairs correspondent Clive Coleman has more.
A massive victory for Unison at the highest court in the land. Workers' fees for bringing claims to employment tribunals gone. From builders to bankers, teachers to police officers, workers can bring tribunal claims for everything from unfair dismissal and pay disputes to discrimination. Issuing a claim and having a trial was free until 4 years ago, when to try and deter weak cases, the coalition government introduced fees of up to £1,200, and that was before you paid a lawyer a penny. That left Ronnie de Andrade, a courier taking his employer to task over his employment status, with a fee he couldn't pay. He's still working for them and they're defending the claim. He could only pay to bring it with the help of his union.
Most of the people working in this industry is living on a paycheck, basically. So it's really hard to take money from your pocket to put something that you don't even know when it's going to end.
In March, Unison had argued tribunal fees were discriminatory and denied workers access to justice. The court has now agreed. Today's ruling is huge. It means that not only the order which introduced tribunal fees back in 2013 is quashed, it also means that everyone who paid those fees, and that's a sum amounting to some £32 million, will now get their money back. After a 4-year legal struggle, Unison were delighted.
Because we knew from day one that this was not just unlawful, it was immoral, that low-paid workers should be put in this position.
Faced with the damning assessment of the fees, the government responded swiftly.
We respect the judgment, we're going to take it fully on board and we're going to comply with it, and already today we're taking immediate action.
Tribunal charges stop today, making claims by workers like Ronnie a good deal more affordable. Clive Coleman, BBC News.
The government will have to repay around £30 million in fees charged to people using employment tribunals. It follows a Supreme Court ruling that the government was acting unlawfully and unconstitutionally in introducing fees in 2013, an attempt, it said, to reduce the number of malicious and weak cases. The trade union Unison had argued that costs put claimants off challenging their employers, but critics have warned that there'll now be a flood of new cases. To Westminster now, and our political correspondent Michael Crick. Michael.
Well, these fees of up to £1,200 for complicated unfair dismissal and discrimination cases were brought in by the then Lord Chancellor Chris Grayling 4 years ago, partly to cut costs as well, partly to make people settle sooner. But the effect seems to have been, according to the figures, that the number of claims went down by more than 2/3. Now, the unions say that's unfair, and today the Supreme Court agreed with them. The government has said that it's stopped levying fees right now, and it will start repaying the fees that it's levied over the last 4 years. The leader of the trade union, Unison, that brought the case, says that this is one of the most important judgments in the history of employment law.
It's a shame on this government and the coalition government before it, because what it does is says that the government has acted unlawfully, both in terms of common law, in terms of constitutional law, in terms of parliamentary law, in terms of the 1215 Magna Carta, in denying ordinary people access to justice.
Well, obviously we're disappointed to get a judgment against us, but we respect the judgment, we're going to take it fully on board and we're going to comply with it, and already today we're taking immediate action to show that that's the case. We're going to stop charging the fees immediately, and we will be bringing forward arrangements to make sure there's a refund dating back to when they were first introduced back in 2013.
Now, employers, as you might imagine, aren't too happy. The Institute of Directors today said that many businesses would be extremely alarmed by this decision. They say that without fees, people often bring unjustified cases that employers facing huge legal costs give in, even though they think they've got a strong defence. What happens now? I suspect ministers will now go away and try and think of a new fee system with much lower fees, possibly with fees for both employee and employer.
Michael Crick.